Using a tube and a mountain bike tire? What is this, the dark ages? Actually, no. This is the future. And when it comes to wanting the best of both performance and protection in your tubeless setup, well, that's where the Odyssey pneumatic tire insert system, aka OPTIS, comes in. Before we dive into this video, I do want to mention that I'm not being paid for this review, nor has Odyssey provided me with any specific talking points outside of what's on their website. However, Odyssey did send me these inserts for free, so big shout out to them for that. But everything you're hearing in this video comes straight from my own experience, so let's dive in. I've been running foam inserts in my tires for years now, and as somebody who lives in Colorado with trails that are full of rocks, running without one usually means flat tires, dented rims, or super high tire pressure, resulting in a loss of traction. So when I heard my favorite BMX brand was bringing their own take to tubeless inserts, I had to give them a try. Although this type of insert was tried by Schwalbe years ago, it was met with failure just because the technology wasn't there yet. Odyssey seems to have addressed these failure points with the OPTIS. So what exactly is this thing? It honestly works a lot like a foam insert would. It helps protect your rims from hard impacts, it keeps the tire securely locked to the rim, and it allows you to run a lower tire pressure for better grip without risking flats or damage. Except for this one is completely tunable. Not only are these inserts super light, but Odyssey claims that they're durable and easy to install. We're gonna test that in this video by installing them on my bike and taking it for a ride. So let's get to work. Now let's talk installation. Over the last handful of years, I feel like I've gotten really good at installing these standard foam inserts on my bike. However, no matter how good I've gotten, there always seems to be some sort of hassle that comes along with wrestling these into place. So when I first saw the Odyssey OPTIS pop up online, the easy looking installation process was a huge selling point for me. So let's go ahead and install the Odyssey OPTIS on my bike for the first time. I have not done this yet, and I'm really looking forward to seeing if this is as simple as Odyssey has made it look. I do want to mention that this is not going to be an in-depth installation tutorial because Odyssey has already done a great job of showing us how to do that over on their YouTube channel, and I'm going to go ahead and link that video in the description down below. Installing the OPTIS is really straightforward. You just add a little air to the insert to give it some shape and slip it onto the rim, just like mounting a tube. Odyssey recommends adding sealant to the tire before seating the bead, which is exactly what I'm doing. They do say you can add sealant through the valve stem, and if you choose to go this route, make sure you only add sealant to the black valve. One thing that stands out about the OPTIS is its unique dual valve setup, which is where the magic happens. The gold valve inflates the OPTIS insert itself, and the black valve inflates the tire, which makes inflating and tuning each chamber simple and straightforward. Once the bead of the tire is over the rim, inflation is straightforward too. Pump some air into the insert first, then the tire, and watch everything click into place. It's really cool and super easy. And just like that, the OPTIS is installed on my bike, and I couldn't be any more stoked because that installation process was extremely straightforward. Now, if you've watched the Odyssey installation video, you may have noticed that I went about it a different way, and here's why. One thing about living in the Rocky Mountains is that our trails are really hard on our bikes, especially our tires. And if you're not running the appropriate rubber on your bike, you're probably going to be frequently tearing or puncturing your tires, which is why I've switched to Maxxis double down tires over the last couple of years. Now, with that being said, these tires are notoriously hard to mount, which is why I went about installing the OPTIS a little bit differently. So if you're running a similar tire setup to me, here's how I went about mounting my OPTIS. I started by mounting one side of the tire's bead into the rim, followed by installing the OPTIS around the rim. Then I moved on to the other side of the tire and mounted the bead about 75% of the way, leaving just enough room to add my sealant. Once I added the sealant, I then finished mounting the bead and added air to the OPTIS. From here, I moved on to adding air to the tire itself, and the bead snapped into place with ease. Now that we've got the installation out of the way, let's go hit the trail to see what these tunable inserts are all about. I've been riding with the OPTIS installed on my bike for a few weeks now, which means I can finally give you my honest opinion about them. Which is why I've brought you out to one of the most challenging trails in my local area. This place is full of rocks, roots, and super challenging terrain. And riding here without an insert usually means that you can't make any mistakes, or you end up with denting a rim, tearing a tire, or you're simply running so much tire pressure that you're just sliding out in all of the corners. But when it comes to riding a trail like this with a traditional foam insert, for some reason I don't feel as connected to the ground as I should. But with the OPTIS, that's all different. Right away, the biggest difference I noticed was how supportive the tires felt. Honestly, I've never felt this connected while riding a full suspension bike. The bike just feels more responsive. There's less bounce, more grip, and it tracks better through rough terrain. The OPTIS lets me run lower tire pressures without the usual fear of burping a tire or denting a rim. That's because the insert is inflated at a higher pressure than the tire itself and supports the tire from the inside. That means better grip, improved suspension feel, and protection from those inevitable impacts. And if you do get a flat, the insert does provide some run flat compatibility. And according to Odyssey, they've yet to see an OPTIS fail with tire punctures or tears, which is pretty impressive. Most foam inserts are one size fits all in terms of feel. Once they're in, you're stuck with that ride quality unless you swap them for another option. But the Odyssey OPTIS is different. Because it's air-filled, you can adjust the air pressure inside of the insert itself, totally separate from your tire pressure. That gives you two independent ways to tune how your bike rides. It's next level customization, especially if you're picky about grip, support, and ride feel. It's kind of like tuning suspension but inside of your tires, and honestly, it might matter more. This is your only contact point with the ground, so if your tires feel bad, the whole bike suffers. Odyssey has done their homework and even has a full pressure tuning guide on their site with a super helpful calculator, which is really nice when it comes to dialing things in. I definitely recommend playing around with different combos, and these helpful tools make it really simple. For example, I usually run 29 psi in the rear and 27 up front. But with the OPTIS, I've dropped down to 26 psi for the tire and 35 psi in the OPTIS for the rear and 24 psi tire, 32 psi OPTIS up front. That gives me a firmer, more supported feel without giving up grip. Because the insert is inflated higher than the tire, like Odyssey recommends, I'm able to safely drop 3 to 5 psi from my usual tire setup. That means more traction, more control, and no collapsing sidewalls or rim damage when things get rowdy. And while the performance gains while descending are pretty obvious, more grip, more confidence, I've also been surprised by how much I love the way the bike feels when climbing. That extra traction really helps the back tire hook up on those loose or technical climbs. It almost feels like cheating on rocky, ledgy bits where I usually spin out or lose momentum. And something I didn't expect, I can actually feel the difference in rotational weight. The OPTIS is lighter than most foam inserts, and that shows up when cornering, moving the bike around, or while in the air. It adds support without that heavy dead feeling. And instead of dulling the ride, it actually makes the bike feel more responsive and natural to move around. Compared to the traditional inserts I've ridden, this setup just feels more free and natural. It provides a crisp, planted ride with real impact protection, and it's responsive when you need it. The OPTIS keeps the tire and bike feeling lively. It's supportive but not stiff, if that makes sense. You can pump terrain and pop off things without feeling glued to the ground, but it also keeps the bike settled through fast, rough, and technical sections. Look, I've slid out, flatted, and dented rims enough to know how unforgiving this terrain is with a traditional setup. But with this current setup, I've got to say, it's been a totally different experience. In fact, it's been confidence inspiring. And I want to quickly reiterate, everything I'm sharing here is 100% my honest opinion after spending some time with the OPTIS installed on my bike. To say that I'm impressed with the OPTIS would be a complete understatement because I'm actually amazed, and it's been a lot of fun getting to play with it out here on the trail, but it can't be all good. So I've broken it down into a simple pros and cons list to help you decide if the OPTIS is right for you. I'm gonna keep this bit as simple and practical as possible so you know what you're getting if you decide to try this product out. So let's start with the pros. Adjustable support. Unlike foam inserts, the OPTIS allows you to adjust tire pressure inside of the insert itself, separate from the tire. This means you can fine-tune exactly how much support or grip you want for different trail conditions or for personal preference. They have a lighter feeling to them. Unlike foam inserts, which can often make the bike feel heavier or dampened. These air-filled inserts make the bike feel a lot more lively and responsive, which I really enjoy. And similar to a foam insert, the OPTIS provides a second layer of defense from those hard hits that could potentially dent or damage your rims. Now, although I didn't get to try this one out personally, and I'm kind of thankful for that, Odyssey does claim that if you rip or puncture your tire, that the OPTIS does have run flat compatibility. Now, this is one of the biggest pros in my eyes, and that's how easy it is to pack the OPTIS down if for some reason you get a flat that you can't repair trailside. Yes, you can ride out with the OPTIS itself. However, if you're out in the middle of nowhere and you've got a long way to go, that's probably not the most ideal situation. So the cool thing about the OPTIS in this instance is you can pull it out of your tire, deflate it, and stick it in your pack with ease. Unlike a traditional foam insert, which you're gonna have to wear around your back or try and jam it down into your pack, everything's covered in stands, and I always refer to it as the cone of shame. You just look goofy riding down the trail. Everybody knows you got a flat tire and you've got your foam insert dripping stands all the way back to the car. Now, if for some reason you damage the OPTIS itself, thankfully the valves are reusable and all you have to do is replace the tubed insert. And the last pro in my eyes was the ease of installation. It was pretty much like just putting a tube in a tire, and I'll take that all day over wrestling a traditional insert into place. I feel like all I've done in this video is rave about how rad the OPTIS is, because it really is that cool. However, there isn't just good without the bad. So let's talk about some of the cons. Starting off with setup complexity. Because the insert's pressure is tuned independently of the tire, dialing this in for your personal preferences can require a little bit of trial and error. I actually really like this tuning ability. It reminds me a lot of suspension, and when you get it right, it feels absolutely incredible. But for some riders, it can be downright frustrating, which is why it's landed on the cons list. Now, I will say Odyssey has made the tuning bit pretty straightforward, and they give you a great baseline on their website. They have a calculator where you type in your preferred tire pressure, and it will tell you what to tune the OPTIS and tire to achieve a similar feeling to that. And to make this tuning process as simple as possible, I've also picked up a digital tire pressure tuning gauge. Next up is the cost. These are a little more pricey than a traditional foam insert, but keep in mind they also allow you to tune the bike completely differently. So is this one a con? I'll leave it up to you. And although I haven't experienced this one yet personally, there is the potential for extra maintenance. That's because the OPTIS is tuned by air pressure, similar to what a tire would be. That means that it could be prone to leaking a little bit of air over a few months, like a tire would. So as I'm checking my tire pressure, I'm also going to make sure that I'm checking my OPTIS pressure. And then there's the added weight. The OPTIS comes in at about 100 grams, which is lighter than most foam inserts on the market. But if you're not running an insert at all, this may be a concern of yours. How about adding sealant to the tire after the OPTIS has been installed? Well, Odyssey suggests that you add it directly to the tire as opposed to the valve stem. And there's a good reason for that. Adding sealant through the valve stem is my preferred method because I feel like it makes less of a mess. But with the OPTIS valve stems, that was not the case. It actually went absolutely everywhere. It made a complete mess, and it was a super big bummer. So I had to pop the bead back off the tire, add the sealant there, and all was good. So if you're like me and you like to add sealant through the valve stem, just know that is not the way to do it with this setup. I think the pros far outweigh the cons, especially if you're riding rough terrain like this and want a high performance system that's fully customizable. So with all that being said, that's my take on the Odyssey OPTIS. And my guess is, since this product is so new that you probably haven't gotten to experience it for yourself yet, if this is your first time seeing it, I'm very curious what you think is a pro or a con. So let me know down in the comments below. I'm really looking forward to seeing what everybody has to say. And if you're looking to try the OPTIS for yourself, I'm gonna go ahead and link it down below in the video description. And I do want to be transparent like I was at the beginning of this video. I'm not getting a kickback if you guys pick one up. I just genuinely really enjoy this product, and I don't see myself taking it off my bike anytime soon. We have officially arrived at the end of this video, and that means I feel like I can finally say this. The OPTIS is the product that I have been waiting years and years for. After first seeing something similar implemented on a dirt bike probably a decade ago, I couldn't get it out of my head. Why was this not being used on a mountain bike? Yes, Schwalbe tried it a handful of years ago and was met with failure, but for some reason it took a BMX brand to bring this thing to life. This is exactly the kind of smart, thoughtful innovation that I love seeing in the bike industry. So a massive shout out to Odyssey for making something so incredible. You guys absolutely crushed it. So yeah, I would definitely recommend the Odyssey OPTIS. I've had a whole lot of fun getting to know it. It handles these Rocky Mountain trails like nothing else that I've ever experienced before. And it's been a whole lot of fun getting to take it on a few adventures. And I look forward to the many adventures to come. Before we wrap this up, I do have a couple of favors I would love to ask of you. If you enjoyed this video, please cruise down and hit that like button. It really helps me out and it helps other people just like you see the video as well. Now, if you want to see more videos like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel because we have more reviews coming, tutorials. We take you guys on all of our rad adventures, whether it's on the mountain bike or at the skate park or cruising around on gravel bikes. Trying to drop new videos every single week. So subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content and leave a comment down below with your experience on tire inserts. Do you love them? Do you hate them? Have they been easy or hard to install? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But with all that being said, thank you so much for riding with me today, for checking out this incredible product from Odyssey. It's been an absolute treat. And until next time, stay rad. Later, y'all. Oh, hey, you're still here. Hop on in if you want to cruise over to another video. Click down here if you want to go on another mountain bike ride with me, or click over here if you want to time travel back to the 90s. We'll see you there. Later.